It's on the floor, it's probably where it belongs, to be fair. Hello, my name is Martin Redford. I'm co-founder of Tradeshake, and today we are talking contracts. We are talking agreements between homeowners and trades. It's a bit of a minefield. There's not really that much literature out there, and it can get very sort of expensive exploring the different routes that you can go when it comes to contractual agreements. So I wanted to do a video to make it super simple and to hopefully give you a bit of insight into the types of agreements you could have. We're ranging from the quite technical, albeit simple, quite technical contracts, right the way through to verbal contracts. So might as well get started. I'm going to do something a little interesting. I'm going to do the paperweight test. So when you hear that contract hit the desk, you know exactly how much to shudder. So first of all, we're going to delve into the RIBA, domestic building contract. This is the Royal Institute of British Architects contract. It's about 28 pages long, and it costs about £50, there or thereabouts. It's a nice, easy contract to understand for somebody that's been in the industry for a long time and understands the ins and outs of contract mechanisms. But if you are a homeowner or if you are a trade, this probably isn't going to be for you. You could get through it, but it would take up an awful lot of your time, and you might not necessarily understand the pitfalls of not doing something, even though it might not become immediately apparent that that will be a problem. This is for the end user that is going to employ an architect or contracts administrator or a quantity surveyor or even a solicitor to administer the contract on their behalf, which is great for the consumer, but not so good for the trade. The problem is, if you're a tradesperson, you probably aren't going to have budgeted for a full-time quantity surveyor or a contract administrator, and you're just going to end up signing it if you want the job. I suspect you'll probably look at the payment terms, and I don't want to do anyone down, like there's probably a lot of people out there that are quite knowledgeable with these particular types of contract. But that being said, when you're busy on site or you've got multiple projects on, going through 28 pages of information is going to be hard. You're not going to remember it all. It's not going to be at your fingertips. You're going to have to go looking for it. And that's fine on a long duration job, which might have some complexity to it. But yeah, this is for the professionals, I think. Next we have the JCT, homeowner or home occupier building contract. This one again, it's got quite a lot of pages to it. I'm going to come clean and say, look, there's like 3 or 4 pages at the back that are just guidance notes. But on the whole, yeah, the JCT is known throughout the industry as being a reliable contract. The problem that you have with things like the JCT is that the consumer or the customer's contract administrator has a tendency to amend the contract. They'll incorporate other documents that maybe take precedent over the standard terms. They might alter some of the time bars in there. So if you've got any changes and you need to tell the customer by what could be a reasonable amount of time, they could reduce it to a week. And if you don't notify the customer of those changes within that period, then you could be leaving yourself exposed for recovery on those items. I like the JCT because it gives you flexibility on a job. It means that you can push forward on the job without having to have every cost agreed as you go. The idea is it kind of puts the job first rather than the commercials and the cost element to it first, because that can always be visited at the end. The problem with that, the risk is on the trade again, because unless they're able to get things agreed as they go, it's going to be very difficult at the end when they're trying to substantiate costs that they maybe didn't keep all the paperwork for. The next one is the FMB. This is the Federation of Master Builders. This contract is a very simple contract, and it even says, look, it's written in plain English. And this is open to, I'm going to say that people that aren't a member of the Federation of Master Builders could probably still use this contract. But it's designed for FMB members. It's quite a manual contract. One of the things I forgot to mention about the other two contracts is you can prepare those contracts online. You can go, the JCT have a thing called On Demand. You basically type in all the details, you can save a draft, send it over to your customer or your trade. They can read it, make any amendments on it in quite a manual way. That'll probably be a response in an email or something. You'll amend it online and then you'll print the final copy. But once it's printed, you can't change it again. The only way that you can change it is through the mechanisms in the contract. That's a problem if you don't want to keep wasting the 45 quid that it costs to buy the contract. The RIBA is the same, you can amend those online. This, as far as I'm aware, and somebody will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but is handwritten, which is quite old-fashioned. I'm pretty certain they're probably working on an online version, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But again, everything's quite small. There's nothing really in there that's like bold and standoffish. It's kind of, it almost gives you the sense that something's going to trip you up because you get blinded by the small text in it. There's lots of pages with terms and conditions on. It's not written in as nice a way as, say, the RIBA, which is kind of spread out quite nicely on a page. Yes, they've got more pages, but it's kind of easier to digest. So I feel like that's maybe a fundamental failing on the part of the FMB contract because of that very thing. Like, you want something to be nice and flowy. You want people to be able to read it, absorb it first time round, not have to reread things over and over again to understand them. But that being said, it is shorter than the other two contracts. Actually, the pages required for filling in information probably only comes to like a couple of pages. It's not much. Yeah, I'd say it's only 2 pages, but if you want to then understand the mechanisms behind change, whether you want to cancel the contract, what you do in the event of a dispute, you've got to go hunting for it. It's a widely used contract and people feel comfortable with it. I feel like they use it because it is condensed. It doesn't feel as intimidating to use as maybe a JCT or an RIBA. But if I was doing a job, I probably wouldn't use that one. If I was doing, it depends how complex the job was. I did explore this other option, which was from Law Depot. Now, this is a very short contract. This is, for all intents and purposes, 5 pages long. And it is very basic. I think there's even though it's only sort of 5 pages long, well, it says 6, but like that's the attestation at the end when you sign it. But there's a lot of things in here that I wouldn't even thought needed to be in here. I've seen a few trades using this because I feel like when I've spoken to them, they didn't have a contract. They've been stung in the past, and they kind of felt like they wanted something in place. And I had a look at it, but it's really, it's the shortest of all the contracts, but there's a lot of unnecessary stuff in here for what the average homeowner and the average domestic trade would want. For example, there's confidentiality clauses. I mean, GDPR, you might sort of put that high on your priority list, but things like rights of exclusivity. Do I think that that's going to play a major part in most domestic building projects? Probably not. But amazingly, there's nothing in here that I can see that relates to change. What are you supposed to do as a trade if your customer asks you to do something different to the original agreement. I can't see anywhere in here that ties in any drawings or specifications or anything like that. The law depot contract, I'd say, is particularly weak in these areas, and I probably just wouldn't recommend it. The more I'm looking at it whilst I'm doing this video, the more I'd say no, that's probably not a contract that I would recommend. And then finally, the shortest of the contracts is this. We've all seen it, the back of the fag packet quotation, which has then subsequently had some stage payments scribbled at the bottom. What you might get is a quotation from the trade that says everything that they've allowed for in their quotation, and then a raft of payment terms. It bewilders me that the emphasis is on payment terms, because that's just a given. It's no surprise that a trade will want paying in a particular way and in line with certain milestones if it's a long job. They might want a deposit, which is fine. They might want money up front for materials on site when they land, which is fine. And then they might want periodical payments from there on in, which again is fine. But that's a given. Everybody knows that. What people don't know is exactly what they're going to get for the amount that they're paying. Customers want to know what's included, specifically what is included, and they want to know specifically what isn't included in terms of exclusions or clarifications. We know that a lot of the information that comes through from customers to trades at the time that the job is to be quoted is incomplete or non-existent. That's just the nature of the industry. Therefore, the trade is left with this sort of job to do to fill in the gaps. And you can't do that with the back of a fag packet quotation. You need to spend the time, get one contract in place, and you can use that going forwards. As long as you're careful to check it all the time, obviously, but each job is different and every customer is different. Their expectations will be different and their emotions will be different. You're working in their home if you're a trade, and it can be a worrisome time. People have spent a lot of time and effort saving up to get this work done, or they've remortgaged their house to get this work done. They have a right to know. Like, you can't say that they don't, and if they ask for a breakdown or more information, that they're a nightmare customer. It's just not the way, is it? Like, they deserve to know. They're about to spend a lot of money with you. So that kind of runs us through to the point of Tradeshake. So one thing that all of these contracts have in common, one thing, is that you sign them, you put it in the drawer. Sign it, put it in the drawer. Sign it, put it in the drawer. You sign it, you put it in the drawer. It goes on. The problem is, as soon as it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Jobs progress, and the contract could be signed a couple of weeks before the job's even started. But as soon as it's out of sight, it's out of mind, and you forget what you've agreed to unless you extensively referring back to all of those pages in those contracts. Tradeshake is different. What we recognise is that people don't want to have to actively remember to go and have a look at the time bars in the contract, or have a look at the payment terms in the contract, or have a look at how they're supposed to communicate certain improvement notices or defects works. So we automated all of that. We provided a platform where trades and homeowners can log in and they both see the same job. They see it in a very similar format and they can both do very similar things. So the contractual agreement, very simple. You just want to know the high level important details are correct. You can go and review those on the contract overview page in Tradeshake. In the contract itself, it's 3 pages long. It's 3 pages long, but we paid attention to the very specific needs of homeowners and trades. What do they actually want to do? They want to get an agreement. They want to know what to do when change occurs, which includes both the scope of works and time. They also want to know how to communicate with one another, and they want to know what to do in the event that they fall out. Where do you go? What do you do? At the moment, most people turn to Google or Facebook. On Tradeshake, it's very clear. You just refer to page 3 and it'll tell you exactly what to do if you fall out. We compile all of the information in the app, so you don't need to ever go consulting your emails, your text messages, or anything like that. It's all there for you to see at the click of a button. Well, I'm sure I've bored you to tears now with contracts, and to be honest, I don't blame you. It's not a very exciting subject to talk about, but it can be a lifesaver if you're a homeowner and you've got your life savings at risk, or you're a trade and you're putting your business at risk. You need to have an agreement in writing. It's just essential and good practice, really. So on that note, if you'd like to create an agreement, visit the website www.tradeshake.co.uk and have a poke around. It's free to register. It's even free to create a contract. You can review it all before you decide to buy, and then away you go. Hopefully you'll have a lot less stress and you'll sleep easier at night. Thank you very much. Until the next video.